Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Kaedim Office Hours. For those of you who aren't familiar with Kaedim, we are an AI startup building machine learning algorithms to turn 2D images into 3D models. And I'm going to be showing you how to generate your model and where you can go from there. So this is the Kaedim app. Also, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I will be checking them throughout the stream, and I can answer any questions that you guys might have. And so, yeah, this is the assets page. This is where you'll find all of your generations. So you can see all of these I've inputted into Kaedim, and I can see the 3D model here. So we've actually recently released this new UI with the 3D preview to make it easier as you're scrolling through your assets to be able to view them in 3D. And you can also see that some of the assets are textured. So this is another offer that we have for your generations or for your uploaded models. This is accessible through a special plan. So if you'd like to use our add-ons, please reach out and we will customize them specifically for your workflow. So I have an image that I'm going to upload today. So this is the create page. This is where you can upload your images or drag and drop. And we also have a few input requirements. So if this is your first time using Kaedim, we highly recommend just looking through the input requirements. These are fairly simple. It has to be a single object. Your picture has to be clear and in focus. The background does not have to be transparent. We actually have when you upload your images, the background automatically gets removed, so you don't have to worry about doing that manually. And we also have a learning center here on the bottom for some resources on how to use our features, as well as basic 3D terminologies that you might have to take into account when you're generating. And if you don't have an image, you can also generate one through our text to 2D feature here. And this costs no credits as long as you are on a plan or an as pay as you go. You can generate as many images as you'd like. So I'm going to be uploading an image here. So as you can see, the background was removed. This is why we recommend having your subject very clear and in focus in the image so that the background removal process works smoothly. And once you've uploaded your image, you can upload up to 6 images. So these 6 images have to be of the same object. They can be in different views. We recommend having orthographic views. So what that means is For example, if you had a character, they would be facing the camera straight on, and it can be a front, back, and side view. This will result in a more accurate model for you. So here we have our image, and we can go over to the right to set our generation settings. So here we have three options. We have standard, high, and ultra. So standard will give you more of a base model. And if you click here, you can compare the qualities in 3D. So this was the input image that was uploaded into Kaedim. So standard is for lower detailed outputs. If you're making a game, this is best for background assets that might be further from the camera. And then this is also a good starting point. You know, if you have 3D experience, you can use this as a block model to, you know, sculpt out the details moving forward. And then high has higher detailed outputs, but this is best for non-complex assets. So maybe if you had a character, they wouldn't really have the accessories or clothing. And if they do, and you choose high, some of that may be omitted in your output. And then for ultra, this is for the highest detail outputs, best for hero assets. So if you want a lot of detail captured in your we recommend using ultra. And you can also see that the poly count increases as you go through the different qualities. So this can also be set here. So once you've named your asset, you can also set the max poly count in this field. So I'm going to go with 75,000. So this ensures that the poly count of your model doesn't exceed this above 5%. And usually the Kaedim outputs are significantly lower than the max poly count that you give it. And then you can add a tag as well. So for example, if you wanted to sort your assets into buildings, and then you can also set a height. So this defines the dimensions of your model. I don't have a specific height for this one, so we can just click generate. And you'll see here on the bottom that your generation will start processing. You can see the different phases here. So once you've uploaded your image, that will then start to queue. It will start processing. And then the final stage is our QA review and refinement. And then that is what gets delivered to you. And you can then download it in any of our formats. So this was a model that I generated yesterday. So we can open this up and see what that would look like. So here you can see the poly count. I generated this in ultra. So the max poly count was 300,000. And the actual poly count of the model is 124K. And then you can also compare the 3D model with the input image that you gave it, as well as the wireframe. And we've also incorporated our iterate feature, which is also in our 3D Studio. So how this works is if you want any edits done to your model, you can annotate either your input image or your 3D model here. So the screenshot, the 3D screenshot is actually a new feature. We've received a lot of requests to be able to annotate on the 3D model. So we've added this 3D viewer here in the iterate feature. So if you wanted to look around your model, for example, here, I could take a screenshot here. And these will be added to your images, which you can then annotate. So for example, if I said, make this area, make the red encircled area smoother. And then once you've annotated all of your images and described the edits here, you can then submit. And this does cost 1 credit, but you can make multiple changes per iteration. Can you show me what kind of 3D model the red car turned out to be? Yes. Let me show you how that turned out. So once you open up your 3D model in the card view, you'll also have a list of versions down here. And so for example, this is the original generated version. And I upgraded it to Ultra. So the original version was high. So the poly count was 98,000. Let me show you the wireframe. So the geometry is already pretty dense, but I wanted to be able to capture a lot more of the details here. So what I did was I went up here and I clicked upgrade to Ultra, and this will immediately start processing and generating your model with the higher setting. So here is the upgraded version. As you can see, the poly count has gone up significantly. And you can also see in the wireframe that the topology is more dense in the areas that need it. So we highly recommend using this feature if you want to increase the detail of any of your generations. So both of those versions are saved here, and you can download them separately as well using this button. And I'm actually going to share this in the chat since one of you requested this during the last stream. And you can open the 3D Studio if you want to use any of our add-ons or just to get a closer look at your model. So here we can go to the previous version using these buttons. And you can also view the history of your model here. You can browse through your asset library. So all of these are the generations that you've already made. And you can also display your input image if you'd like to review it further. And for those of you who have access to the UV Unwrap feature, we have this new toggle switch so that you can view your UV map next to your model. This is a downloadable UV map, so you can download it as a PNG as well. We also have the iterate feature here, which I showed earlier, and generate LODs, which reduces the poly count of your current model. So we see now that this has a poly count of 200,000. You can input your target poly count here. So either as a number value or as a percentage. And you can add up to 3. So the best use case for this is if you're making a game and you have a lot of assets that have a really high poly count. This is a great way to reduce the poly count without diminishing the fidelity of your model, and it optimizes it for smoother gameplay, and so that it's easier for you to edit as well in other programs. And we also have the merge feature here. So as you can see, all the generations that come out of Kaedim are separated into parts. These outputs are separated so that you can easily customize them after they've been generated, as well as you can easily texture them as well this way. So you can either select them directly on the mesh, or you can use this checkbox. You can also select all to merge the entire model into one mesh. And one of our free tools is the fill color tool. So here you can select a color. You can also select different materials. So for example, if we had glossy, you can see that it's semi-transparent. And you can also sample from your image. So how you do that is you just click on any point of your image that you want to color pick from, and then you can apply it to the mesh that you've selected. And then once that's done, you can save the changes here, and that will then save as a new version again in your asset history. And finally, you can also leave feedback. We'd love to hear what you think about your outputs. If you have any suggestions, even for our interface, whatever would be helpful to you, we would love to hear it. We are constantly improving both our generations and the user interface to make it as easy as possible for you to create 3D assets. So please let us know if you have any feedback or suggestions here. And you can also enable sharing. So once you've turned this switch on, you can copy the link, and as I shared earlier, you can see that the models show up in a 3D viewer that you can rotate. You can also view the dimensions and the wireframes. And this isn't a downloadable 3D model, so it would be safe for you to share it on social media or any other platform. And then again, we have our different download formats here. So we have GLB up to USD and FBX. So I'm just going to go back to my assets page to check on our barn. So here it is. Let's see how. So this has 5,000 poly counts or polygons. We can open it up in 3D Studio. So the topology is pretty simple. You can see that it's best optimized, or the topology has been optimized to make sure that it is allocated to the appropriate parts. So we can also start coloring this. And this might take a while, so I can do this off stream, but I wanted to show you guys also how to import this into a 3D software. So first you would download, and then you can choose any format. I like FBX. We can go ahead and download that. And once that's downloaded, you can just import that into any program. The format might change depending on what program you're using, but generally for Blender, OBJ, and FBX are perfectly fine. I also wanted to show you how the generate else feature works. So here is an asset that I generated, and it has 53,000 polys. So the wireframe is quite dense. And so I generated some LODs to lower the poly count. And again, this makes it easier if you're making a game to, incorporate this asset into your game. So the first LOD reduced the poly count down to 4,000. And you can see that the silhouette is pretty much the same, and it didn't omit any of the core details of the asset, which is good. And this is a bit of a higher poly count, so this is 17,000. But it is significantly lower than the original generated model. And we have some other assets as well. If you signed up with Kaedim recently, you might have seen some of these assets in your asset library. So these are sample assets that you can, view and look around in the history as well to see how the different features work. You can also toggle the 3D viewer if you want a larger view of your assets in your library. And another new feature that we've released is the folders feature. So this essentially saves a specific filter or search and makes a out of it here under the asset tab. So if we wanted to, let's say we wanted to separate or save the search for all generated plants, I can just select a tag or create one here, and any asset that has that tag will show up when you click on this folder. You can also choose a quality that you'd want to filter from. And then once you've done that, you can hit save. You can also add as many tags as you need to. So here are all of our plant generations. And we also have some really good resources for support here. So we have our Discord channel or Discord server for those of you who are on a plan. We offer support directly, and you can offer or you can speak to our team as well if you have any issues with the app, your generations. If you have any general questions, we highly recommend joining our Discord. And this is also a great way to just share the models that you've made. A lot of users share how they've incorporated their 3D models into their games or into their designs. So that's always fun to see. And again, if you'd like to gain access to any of the add-on features that I showed today, please contact us. We have our contact information here, so you can get a product tour. We can talk about your specific use case, what features you would like, or what future features you would like to see. You can also apply for free credits here if you'd want to try Kaedim out. And if you want to learn more about Kaedim in general, we have all of our documentation here. So this goes into more detail about our APIs, about our plugins. You can also find updates on what we've released and what we're working on. So in our current roadmap, we have a few exciting things that we're working on. So I definitely recommend checking this page out. So there you go. So the first one on the list, and we're very excited about, is the scenes feature. In the future, we'd like to be able to generate entire scenes instead of just single objects. And we think that this would be really helpful for those of you that need to generate environments or interiors like this one. We are also working on queue organization. So what this means is when you start generating, or if you batch upload to Kaedim, you can then change the order in which the assets are generated. So it doesn't necessarily have to be in chronological order. And you can kind of prioritize certain assets over others if you need it at a faster time. And obviously, we've already released the marketplace here as the trial version. And we'd like to make custom styles available as well for all the plans. And team functionality. And of course, we are always working on optimizing our generations so that higher quality generations in a much less amount of time. So we are always trying to, go faster and get your generations to faster. So this is a constant on our roadmap. And we also have a list of things that we have released both down here and on this page. And yes, as John mentioned, we will probably get to your image next week. So we do have these weekly streams. So next week, we can start generating your image as well using the link that John provided. And I think that should be it for today. If you enjoyed this stream, please make sure to share with others. We do post all of the replays of the streams to our YouTube, so you can rewatch our older ones as well. But we would love for you to share this with others who might be interested in using Kaedim as well. We post regular updates on our social media. So if the schedule changes for whatever reason, you will be updated there. And we also try to share with you the assets that we make during the stream for you. So we will also do a follow-up email if you have uploaded an image to the link. But I think that's it for today. Thank you again, guys. Our socials are all under Kaedim 3D. We recently also created an ArtStation account, so please follow us there as well if you have one. And if you want to try Kaedim out, it's kaedim3d.com. It's on the bottom left. Thank you all for coming. We will see you next week.